Hi, this is Kyle Benedict with MISO BIM. This is part 2 on our video about curtain walls and is an intermediate level course. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an interior curtain wall for a conference room. But before we get to that, let's back up a little bit and talk about, in video 1, we learned that the curtain grid and spacing for all your glass panels is controlled by the vertical and horizontal grid options under the type properties. So now in this video I'm going to show you guys how to create a more custom option with larger space panels in between, smaller panels, and also a curtain wall door. Alright, I'll zoom in the plan here. Since we've got that one here, I'll build the new one right about here. So I'm going to make a new one from this. Like so. Alright, and as you can see, we're starting with a simple plain curtain wall, clean slate. It's best if you place an elevation in here, and that will really give you a better idea of where you're setting up the curtain grids to create your custom pattern. So I place that, I'll click on it and go to it, and here we go. Alright, so like I said, we started with a curtain wall, and again we can duplicate this, call it conference room curtain wall. We could set the curtain panels if we wanted. I've got the majority of this one is actually going to be opaque, so I can call this opaque to start, but you can easily change the panels after, so it's just one less step we'll have to do for some of the panels. And everything else we're going to leave how it is. As for the other things, we're going to keep our mullions all the same all throughout, and that's going to be the 1.5 by 2.5 inch. So I'll choose that for all of them. And again, this is a few steps you can take just to set up your wall so that as you create new curtain grids and panels, it automatically fills them in the way you'd like. Alright, so as you see, I chose the glazed opaque panel, and you'll see it's grayed out. I can't select that. That's because this object is pinned. So if I unpin it, now I can choose another option from this drop down. I'll get to creating more panels in a minute. Okay, before I do that, I'm actually going to undo the interior type so I can show you how to place mullions later. But this is a quick and easy way to set it up ahead of time so it'll create all the mullions that you want. Alright, so let's create a matching pattern to this one we created earlier. First thing you want to do is go to your Architecture tab and go to Curtain Grid. And you'll see we're in the modify and edit ribbon. You've got an option of choosing all segments, one segment, or all except picked. I'm going to place the vertical grids first using the all segments option, and it really doesn't make a huge difference when there's no other grids in there, but I'll show you one segment in a second. So I'm going to get this close with our temporary dimensions. You can easily come back and change this. I know our door will be about 3 feet, and then I'm going to space that one centered inside of that. Next, I'm going to put our horizontal grid on at 1 foot from the top, another one 1 foot from that, and then the bottom grid. Now as you can see, our bottom grid isn't continuous because we have a door there. So if I use this all segments option, it will put it all the way across. Instead, I can choose one segment, get that also 1 foot from the bottom. And now if you do one segment, the important thing to know with Revit and curtain grids is even though you just placed that grid there, the grid is still continuous. Okay, so to add this part of the grid, we simply select the grid and use this tool, add and remove segments. So I hit that, and it automatically knows you're either adding ones that aren't there or removing ones that are there. So I'm going to add this one, and now we've got the grid in the proper place. If I undo that, I can use the same process if I use all segments and simply remove the one where the door is, like so. Alright, so now we've got our curtain grid in the place that we want it. Next thing to do is put the door in. Unlike your typical way of putting doors in using the door tool and placing a door, you cannot place a door within a curtain wall. What you have to think of it as is you're actually replacing a panel, not placing a door. So I can select this panel, and if you don't select it immediately, just use the tab tool. It tabs through the grids, the panels, and the whole wall. So I've got that selected. I go to my drop down menu, and I've got this curtain wall single glass or a dorma curtain wall. Those aren't in your project. You simply go to edit type, load, find where your family is. Again, make sure this is actually a curtain wall door. You cannot place normal doors inside of a curtain wall. So you load it in, and again, you should be fine with that. Choose it from the drop down, make that the 105, hit OK, and as you can see, we've got our door in there. Go to the plan real quick, make sure it's lined up the way we want it. It is. Now, the other thing about placing curtain doors inside of walls is that you do not get to select the size of the door. Okay? The door is the size of the panel. It fills up the exact panel. So if I select this panel, you'll see the width is 5'6". If I select the door panel, the width is 210.5. Okay, we need that to be 3. And now pay attention that the width that's grayed out is the actual system parameter, and you cannot edit that. It is what it is. For this particular door, this width controls the swing arc radius as well as the actual length of the door itself, because the way the curtain wall door families are set up, sometimes depending on how the family is built, you just can't set a parameter to match the system parameter. Okay, I also just noticed we have the wrong height for that as well. So what I'm going to do is remove this panel. Again, I'll select the grid, I'll remove segments, and now you'll see the door fills in the exact panel that I want to get it to the correct height, 610.5. Also note that the panels will shrink or grow depending on if the mullions are in there. So I'm going to come back to that door in a second. Let's put mullions inside our wall. You do that by going to the Architecture tab, choose Mullion. And again, we have similar options as we do when placing a curtain grid. So we can do the grid line, just a segment of the grid line, or all grid lines. So if I do grid line, it's going to do this whole thing. If I do segment and select the grid line, it will just do that one segment, like here. Or all, pretty self-explanatory, it will do all the remaining grid lines. And there you have it. Now, in reality, we would not have this bottom mullion on the bottom of the door. That would be a pretty significant tripping hazard. So if you need to remove mullions like this, you simply select it, hit delete. If it's grayed out, that means it's pinned, so unpin it first. And now we have the option to delete it. And there you go. And again, as I showed you before, the door will fill up the entire panel, including if a mullion is removed. Alright, so we're almost finished. The last thing involving the door is to verify that width. We need at least 3 feet for that. It's still a little short, so again, we can't change the width of the door. What you need to do is change the panel size. So I'm going to select the grid. I know I'm 2 1/4 inches short, so I'm going to change that from 3 to 3 2 1/4. And there we go. Now I select the door panel, and the width is an even 3 feet, and that matches our width that controls the swing arc, and everything looks correct in plan. Finishes right there. Okay, back to the elevation. Now what we need to do is match up these colored panels for the wall. Alright, the top row we've got clear panels. This one we have blue, the bottom we have green, and then the main one is the opaque ones for a little bit of privacy in our conference room. Now since I set the panels to automatically go to opaque, the 2 big ones we won't need to change. So let's first change the bottom ones to green from opaque. So again, you're going to have to tab to select these, and I'm doing it in the perspective view, but you can certainly do it in elevation as well. And that is opaque, as we saw. We want them to be green, and I've already created these, but to create them you simply go to Edit Type, Duplicate, and then you can call it whatever you want and make it look however you want. I changed the material to green and changed the opacity to 80%, I think, so that's how that's controlled. 2 other things you'll need to pay attention to in your panel properties is the offset and the thickness. Thickness is pretty self-explanatory. It's the thickness of your glass panel. Your offset is where the panel is centered on the wall itself. So a 1/2 inch offset means it's being pushed out a 1/2 inch towards the exterior. This offset can be negative as well and be 0, of course. So just be aware, if you create a wall and the panels look like they're protruding out from the mullions, that's going to be controlled by your offset. Also make sure that you recognize this parameter is a type parameter, so changing the offset of 1 will change all of the offsets for that family type. Okay, so that's going to be green, and there you go. Next we'll do the next 2 panels, which are going to be blue to match the door, and then the top is going to be clear, and you see me slowly selecting all these, but you can also draw a window and filter them out. Panels, we've got the 3 here, make that clear, and there you have it, our matching custom conference room curtain wall. That's all for this video on curtain walls. Thanks for watching.